welcome back to the Rugby Connection podcast. Well, Cam is not with us this week because his beloved Sharks got beat again. But it's all right because we have a replacement. Co-host of the Fratelli D'Rugby Podcast. Yes, we've hit a tally. Marcello Francis. How you doing on? How you getting on, mate?
I'm good, thank you. Well done with all of that. The pronunciation was bob on, so congrats. But yeah, thank you for having me on. Looking forward to chatting some rugger.
Yes, let's get into it. Well, Cam isn't actually just because the Sharks got beat. He is becoming a personal trainer. He's got lots of... But it's because the Sharks got beat. So, anyway, we're going to do things a little bit differently this week just because you're not used to the setup of RCP. I'm going to quickly rattle off the final round from the women's tournaments from WXV 1 because it started a week later than WXV 2 and 3. But anyway, Australia getting a big win over Wales, down to 14 for the second half, and friend of the show, Laurie Kramer, getting the crucial try. Always play to the whistle is basically the rule. The ball went kind of dead in the try area, and then Laurie just, thank you. Beautiful. Love that. Well done to the girls there. Canada getting a big win over France, which we love to see. This tournament has been so bizarre because Canada beat Australia, but then France beat New Zealand, and then Australia beat France. So it was all neck and neck, and we love it. So now I'm going to say it because I said it every time last year we talked about women's rugby. Pay the girls. Canada, I don't know how they are not professional yet. It blows my mind. Give the girls money. They deserve it.
Absolutely.
And the big one, repeat of last year's World Cup final, Red Roses versus Black Ferns. And England get their revenge, 33-12, the inaugural WXV1 champions. Happy days. Nice and easy. And we had the World Rugby Awards. You'll like this because International Rugby Players Women's Try of the Year is in the Azuri. It's Sophia Stefan with her beautiful world-class try against Ireland in the Six Nations. It was just high-tempo rugby. It got my vote.
Really? Yeah, that's the Italian way. That's the Italian way nowadays. It's transferring across from the women's and into the men's, and it's our brand now, playing this free-flowing French-style rugby, if you like. Great to see.
With an Italian flair behind it.
Absolutely.
There you go. 15's Breakthrough Player of the Year is Caitlin Wahako of the Black Ferns. She's electric. You'd think she's been doing this for years, and it's her first proper season as a Black Fern. So you're going to get bored of hearing her name, I think. And the big one, the best player on the planet. Who else was it going to be? She captained them to a Grand Slam. She captained them to a World Cup final last year. She has been tearing it up. If there's going to be a Lioness squad anytime soon, she's got to captain them. She's just lifted the WXV1 title, as I mentioned. Marley Parker. Absolutely unreal.
Yeah, hard to disagree with that, isn't it? I mean, I guess the only thing for England is not winning that World Cup, and I think that will probably play on their minds and probably still does. And I think that's ultimately just fueled them, hasn't it? And they've just gone from strength to strength since. And it's just hard to see when they lose or if they lose or who can. They just seem to be so far ahead.
Yeah, it's frightening.
It's difficult, isn't it? But they are an incredible side, and she is an incredible player. So no arguments really.
Exactly. I mean, it all builds to 2025, where England hosts the Women's World Cup. So it'll be fun. It'll be exciting. But we're back to club duties as the Rugby World Cup has left us behind for another 4 years. Well, another 2 years, sorry. And I'm a bit sad about it, but club duties. We're back in the Prem. Just a 10-sided Prem this time. Not 13, not 12, not 11. Solid round number of 10. Anyway, Friday night, horrible weather, but Sale getting a bonus point win over Gloucester, 24 points to 10. Yeah, I can't really say much. I did try and watch it, but the weather was horrible. Obviously, none of the plays that the players wanted were working. George Ford was shocking off the kicking tee, which is very rare for him. yeah, it just wasn't a good. It just wasn't an enjoyable game.
No, it was. I was very tempted to go on TikTok really and have a rant about that game, to be honest, because it was just Gloucester was so inept going forward. It seemed to be a couple of phases and it was box kick, a couple of phases, box kick, a couple of phases, box kick. The box kicking wasn't great. Sale dealt with it all far too easily, and George Ford, yeah, it wasn't great from the tee, but he sort of made them play in the right areas. And Sale at home in those conditions, you have to just be so accurate and so clinical. And if you're not, Sale will be. And yes, it wasn't a very good game, but Sale got the win, didn't they? And yeah, Gloucester have got some work to do. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're missing one of the guys on my podcast, Ottavio, is a big Gloucester fan, and he sent me a list of about 16 players that are out at the moment for Gloucester. So they're far from being first team, aren't they? But yeah, they really struggled.
They'll bounce back. Gloucester's always that weird team that it looks like they're down and out, and then they just pick up really good form halfway through the season, and then like in playoff contention. So we'll see. But we go down to the Stoop because this was a massive scoreline. Twins get a big win over Newcastle Falcons, 40 points to 12. We've already got try of the season. Tyrone Green's try, like Superman. Anyone else would have left that try, would have left that ball.
Absolutely, yeah. There are few players in world rugby that even think about trying to launch themselves in the air and collect that ball and ground it, all to be able to do that all in sort of one movement. Yeah, you're gonna struggle to find a better try than that this season. And briefly on Newcastle, I think it's going to might be a difficult one, mightn't it? I'm pretty sure they're going to lose. Looks like they're going to lose Carreras, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's which French club? I can't remember now, but one of the French clubs looks like he might be going there on a 3-year. Yeah, Bayonne, I think, on a 3-year deal, and that'd be a huge blow for them. But yeah, it could be a long old season for Falcons, I'm afraid.
I hope not. I kind of like Newcastle just because.
Yeah, I do too.
They have that plucky underdog spirit about them, but it's hard to give them credit when Tyrone Green's doing Superman dives and Lewis Liner's back on top form, and it was just Quins at their best. That's all I really could say to that. Saints versus Bath. That was a big game. I thought Bath was going to get the win, but Saints proved me wrong. 24 points to 18.
Made a lot of changes, didn't they, Bath?
Yeah, no Finn Russell this week, so there's a big issue there.
No Finn Russell, no party. That'll be the theme this season, won't it?
Yeah,
when Finn Russell, how do Bath play when Finn Russell isn't there? And that'll probably be a lot of what their season comes down to. I think Bath is how well does Finn Russell play? How consistent is he? And how do they deal with him for a large part of the season when he's not there? Obviously, only the Six Nations this year, and obviously he's been away with the World Cup. But that Six Nations period will be key for Bath because without him and a couple of other stars as well. So interesting to see how they get on too.
I mean, I really like Orlando Bailey, but he's a totally different player. That's not a bad thing, but I can't pinpoint what his style is. If that makes sense. He's very good with ball in hand. He's fairly solid off the kicking tee. But when you watch him play, I'm like, maybe it's just me. Maybe I don't know what he's trying to do, and everyone else does, which is fine.
Yeah, I think he strikes me as a little bit of a kind of a mix between styles. So he's got that Finn Russell about him in terms of he can do something explosive and you don't really expect it. But then he's also kind of a little bit George Ford-esque in the sense that he tries to organise the game and tries to play the game in the right areas. So there's a bit of a mix of styles there, I guess. And it's always going to be difficult for whoever's going to have to play under Finn Russell and whoever's going to have to deputise for him. It's always going to be difficult. And no one is like Finn Russell. So if you take Finn Russell out of the team, you're always going to be weakened, certainly going forward, because he offers something that nobody else in world rugby really can do from the number 10 spot. So, yeah, it's going to be hard for Orlando, but I do like him, like you said, but he's just not Finn.
Fair.
He's just not Finn.
That's not his fault. It's just Finn's.
No, it's just tax.
Saracens are back with all their big boys getting a big win over Leicester Tigers. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with this pod, but we never vote Saracens. Anyone but Saracens is the running joke. But it's hard because they are a good team. They are very well structured. They have world-class players. And when they are full whack, they are too strong. You can't clamp them down, and it's very hard. But yeah, fair enough. Big win for them.
They're a little bit like South Africa, I guess, in the sense that they can win anyway, and they sort of have that knack of just being able to win. It doesn't matter how. They always find a way, and they're just so hard to beat. And the amount of stars they have on their side, it's always going to be hard to see past them when it comes to Premiership titles. And yeah, they're a bit like Man City, really, in the football almost. You always know that they're going to be there or thereabouts at least, and you're always going to have to beat Sarries if you're going to want to go on and win a title. But the best thing about that game, don't know if you see it, but did you see Jamie Shilcock palm off Owen Farrell on his way to scoring the try? Because as someone who followed Worcester a lot before they unfortunately went under, massive fan of Jamie Shilcock. He's a brilliant footballer, brilliant attacker, such a good rugby player, massive rugby brain, and to see him palm Owen Farrell to the face is never going to get old. As much as I don't necessarily dislike Owen Farrell, I think there's something about him that I do quite like actually. But it is always nice seeing him get nailed by someone or palms to the face by another player. So quick shout out to Jamie Shilcock. Lovely try. Good stuff.
We're ending the Prem review on a high because my beloved Exeter Chiefs getting a big win over Bristol Bears. This team is just going to impress me all year. We lost basically our whole team through transfers to the top 14 in France or just retirement. So it's all academy boys, apart from like Jack Yendall and Henry Slade, who's been there, done that. But it's all young lads, and yeah, bonus point win over the Bears at Sandy Park, and we're now top of the table. We've lost one game, and the points differential is mad already.
Yeah, they're another team that always there or thereabouts, aren't they? But like you said, with such a mass clear out and so many sort of the fluctuation of player coming in and out, it is going to be really interesting to see whether they can go back to where they were with the players they've got and whether they stick to the same sort of game style, because Exeter have been renowned as that sort of really efficient. They win penalties, they get it into the corner, and they're so effective in that 22 that they're so hard to beat. But it'd be interesting to see how that maybe differs with all the new players. But yeah, a really good win. Mine's still not out on Bristol yet. They're one of those teams where I feel like they should be pushing up there to the top four every season with the kind of the quality they have. But I just don't trust them. I don't trust them. I don't trust them like I do sort of Exeter and Saracens. I'd love to see them up there and thereabouts because they play some great stuff, but they can't be any worse than they were last season. They've got to try and be a bit better than they were last year. So very interesting to see, and they've got some big boys in there too. So
they do. I think it's a breath of fresh air though, because everyone was asking me over the summer like, "Oh, how's Exeter going to finish? Are you worried about their performance?" I'm like, no. Well, for one, my philosophy is back your team. Like, the team that the coach puts out, you just have to, right, lads, let's go. We've got we're backing you. So I'm not worried. It's going to be a tough season. But saying that, 4 weeks in and we're top of the table, I'm getting less worried as the weeks go on.
Were you ever worried in that game itself?
I was worried against the Bears game. I think we were very narrowly defended, and we were just given. I'm not saying Bristol played bad because they did deserve to keep it tight, but I don't know. I just think if we can run Sale Sharks pointless the week previous, and they were practically full whack. To go narrow against Bristol, I know every game's different, but it was just very weird that I'm like, how did you destroy last year's runners-up, and you're coming out tight with Bristol, who were struggling last season, and that's still majority of the same team. Yeah, it was. I don't know. It was just very strange. But again, it's young lads. They need to learn how to keep their composure and play with what's in front of you, essentially, because it's almost like they thought they had it won before the game was even started. But rugby has different stories for that.
Absolutely do, yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Chiefs go. I guess there's maybe a little less expectation given the players that left. There's probably people that won't put them up there in that top four, but that could play into their hands hugely, and you'd never bet against them, would you? Because they've been there and done that in this Premiership for the last 10 years. So
Exactly. Well, before we move on, we're going to do predictions for week 5 of the Prem. Just
okay.
just a bit of fun because we always do it. Friday night, Gloucester host Bath. Ooh.
For me, it all depends on how many players Gloucester get back. And it's one of those where you wouldn't want to predict it confidently without seeing the teams. On the face of it, Bath have done pretty well this season, and their squad is probably a little bit more together in the early stages of the season than Gloucester's. Gloucester's still obviously missing a lot of players. But it's at Kingsholm, right?
It's at Kingsholm, yeah.
I mean, that is a very tough place to go. Well, that's tough actually. But I'll go with Bath just because having watched Gloucester last weekend, they were pants. So I'm going to go with Bath.
Fair.
But it won't be easy. It's never easy at Kingsholm,
No,
and especially in that derby. And if Gloucester are going to sort of shake off last weekend and turn up, it's going to be against Bath. So I'll go for Bath just.
Fair. No, I'm with you. I agree with you. And it's going to be very tight. On to the Saturday. Bristol Bears against Sale Sharks. Down at Ashton Gate.
I think I'll go with Sale.
Okay.
I think actually, I think they're just a well-oiled machine. I think Sale, and they've got, even when the going's tough, that they've got the ability to win. And like I said, I'm not overly convinced by Bristol at this stage, so I'll say Sale.
I'm feeling Bears this week. I don't know why. I don't really have logic behind it, but I'm just going to go Bears just to go against what you've said.
Yeah, it's just one of those. You could make a case for both.
Absolutely. This game is going to be intense. It always is. It always will be. Leicester Tigers versus Harlequins.
So Quinns got Marcus Smith back from on the bench at the weekend, didn't they? So
yeah,
you'd expect him to probably come in. I'm picking away wins all the time here. That's tight. That is. I'll go with, because it's tight. I'll go with the home side. I'll go with Leicester.
Okay. I'm going the opposite again. I'm going for the boys in the quarter colours. I'm going for Quinns just because when they win, it's a lot more convincing on the scoreline. So I think once they get going, it's very hard to stop. But I feel sad doing this next one. But Newcastle host Saracens.
Yeah, like I said, I really, I'm worried for Newcastle. Really, I mean, I'm worried a little bit for them on and off the pitch. Actually, their home crowd it's not great, and what you've seen in the last couple of seasons actually is that, unfortunately, those teams that struggle attendance-wise, especially at home, there's a curse. Let's say that there's a curse, isn't there? And I just worry for them a little bit. and Saracens with the big boys back. I mean, even if they make a few changes, which they potentially could here, I'd expect that to be a very comfortable Saracens win.
Just for fun, I want to see Newcastle by 1. But
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see Newcastle beat them, but I just cannot see that. Not in a month of Sundays, I'm afraid.
Saracens, sadly. Final game. Northampton Saints hosting Exeter Chiefs. I'm going to be easy. Back your team. Exeter Chiefs for the win. Let's go, lads.
That's what I've learned from you, Murray. It's back your team always, which I 100% agree with, by the way. I think that might be the game of the weekend, really. Saints look quite good.
They do, yep. Absolutely.
I do like seeing Finn Smith, the ex-Worcester boy, in action at the moment, and he's a very, very good player. Out of interest, would you like to see him in a Scotland shirt? Because that could still happen, couldn't it? Because there was a lot of talk about that.
There was a joke that they cut when it was the whole argument with Townsend and Finn Russell. So the joke online was, "What, you said you wanted Finn?" I'm like, yeah, Finn Russell. Oh, Finn it's like Smith. Like when you've got pizza in the house, like that joke.
Yeah.
But no, Finn Smith's a class talent. Would he get used up here? Hard to say.
Probably not.
Probably not.
There's quite a few players ahead of him, isn't there? You'd say.
Well, we've now got Ben carving it up. So he's cemented as number 2 under Finn.
Yeah, Russell. And then Hastings, and then you also got
Hastings, Ross Thompson, Kinghorn.
I was going to say Kinghorn also. You've used Kinghorn there a bit as well. So there's quite a lot of 10s in it. So probably anyway.
I would say no to see Finn Smith up here, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I think also it's a big jump from club rugby to international rugby, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think. And who's at home for that Exeter game? That Exeter Sandy Park, is it?
No, it's at Franklin Gardens.
I'll go the Saints then.
Oh, you're not coming back.
The Saints go marching on. No.
Yeah, it's going to be tight. I do actually respect the Saints a lot, but back your team. That's my philosophy. Into the URC now, where we had new location. We were in the Stoop for Friday night for the Ospreys versus Sharks, and that's why Cam's not here, because Ospreys getting a big win, 19 points to 5. What's going on with the Sharks? I know they've not got their World Cup winners back yet, but come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say this actually, because I thought Ospreys played really well. I managed to flip between the Gloucester Sale game and this one a little bit, and this one was actually miles better than that one. But all the points scored in the first half. So if you'd watched the first half there and then switched over, you'd have done well. But I had Ospreys down as a team to really struggle again this season. I mean, in the last few years, they've really dipped.
Yeah.
So to lose to them is not great. But like I said, I think the Sharks. It's so difficult these first early weeks. It's difficult. You see these results that you perhaps didn't expect, because some teams are so. I mean, especially the South African sides. South African sides are no one's back yet. Ultimately, I'm pretty sure they'll start coming back this week potentially.
I don't know. I feel like the party's still going.
Yeah, maybe so. This week, maybe a few will come back, but then definitely maybe next week and then the week after. So,
yeah,
I think the South African sides are going to struggle a little bit, but they're going to bounce back hugely. So I wouldn't worry about them too much. But that's a in terms of confidence, that's a big win for the Ospreys.
Absolutely. Up to Scotstoun on Friday night as well. Glasgow maintaining their status as fortress at home, getting a big win over former champions and last season's runner-up, the Stormers, 20 points to 9. Johnny Matthews getting 2 tries for himself. I feel like he's going to be key going forward for Scotland. I think he might, based off form, I think he might edge the number 2 jersey and not the number 16. But again,
yeah, I mean, he played well. I've seen some highlights from that game. like I said, that Scotland team I think, is flexible in certain positions in terms of who can sort of break through, and got to pick on form, haven't you? And I think that's what other coaches, some that we'd name like Eddie Jones, who just wouldn't pick on form and just pick on reputation, and that doesn't always work. So, Matthews looks really good. I'd expect him to be given his shot at least. It's about what you do with that shot when you get it. So, but yeah, like it's just the Storm was the same with the Sharks. Really, away from home, haven't got their internationals back yet, so always hard to tell really what they're going to do. And Glasgow at home are an incredibly difficult side to beat. Exactly. So good win for them.
I'm going to let you talk about this next one because it's Zebre versus the Bills.
Oh yeah. See, now Zebra have on the podcast, the Fratelli D'Rugby Podcast, I co-host with Mike and Ottavio. We have spoken a lot about Zebra. We think the team they have this year is sort of poles apart from what they've had in the last few years. And we as a three, and the feeling in Italy, especially within that Zebra squad, is that this is going to be a much, much different season. This is going to be totally different. I think the ambition will be, obviously, not winning a single game last season. The ambition is probably going to be winning a game, but I think the ambition within that squad is much bigger than that. And I think they'll be wanting to take a few scalps this season, and they will run teams close. I mean, they absolutely should have beaten Ulster in round one. They were well on top of the Ospreys as well in round two, and shouldn't have lost that game either. I think they're the second highest scorers in the URC so far. I think they've scored, if I'm adding it up quickly, it's 6. They must have scored about 40 odd tries already. They've got a bonus point in every game, scoring points for fun. They're playing some really exciting rugby. They've got some players that are playing really well, like Lorenzo Panni, Chris Cantelli, and Gregory as well on the wing, who scored 4 tries in 3 games. So they look really good. I think they'll be really frustrated and disappointed that they haven't got a win yet already. But they will shock teams this season. And beware the Zebra, because they're coming.
There we go.
First, they're coming.
Watch out for the racing stripes.
Yeah, but I mean, they did get thumped in this game ultimately. But I think with in fairness, with 15 minutes left, the game was still on. And Bulls have sort of finished the game really strongly, and the scoreline perhaps looks a little harsh on Zebra, but there's so much to like about them this season. They're going to be fine, and we're going to see some wins from them at least. There
we go. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
This one hurts me, but I'll rattle off quickly. Leinster versus Edinburgh, 36-27 to Leinster. Oh, but it was Leinster's C team. Shut up. It's Leinster the RDS. It's not easy. It's never going to be easy. We did not help ourselves. I'm not looking for excuses. We made some shocking decisions in that first half. Just that, again, we were too tight in the defence. Some people would say the ref made some wrong decisions. I say you play with what's in front of you. If the referee didn't call it, it is what it is. It's annoying, but it's not an excuse to, that's why we got beat. No, we got beat because we were outplayed in the first half. Second half, we showed a lot of glimpses of what we can do. Even though we're now going into 4 games into the season, I still don't know what our strategy actually is. It's a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah.
But again, a lot of our big boys have just came back from international duty, so they had a bit of game rust. We've still got some coming back probably this week or next week. And yeah, like I said, it's not easy to win at the RDS, regardless if it's the first team, second, third, under 18s. I don't know what they do in that setup on a Monday to Friday basis, but
I'll tell you what they do is, because they so often lose their internationals, they're in a position where they have to have such a huge squad, because now we'll talk about Benetton, the other Italian side, who obviously focus a lot more on, and they're in a similar boat in that they lose so many internationals that they have to have such a massive squad, and they have to have a lot of quality behind that first team in order to compete, because otherwise they wouldn't. So Leinster's second and third team play a lot of rugby. They play frequently because they lose their internationals so much. So, Leinster at home. No, that's probably one of the hardest places in Europe to go to and win. So I think did Edinburgh get a losing bonus? Did they get a try bonus point in that?
Well, we pushed it close. We were really close to it, but we messed up in the last play or two. So
okay. But yeah, like you said, I mean, there are so many teams that are just getting their internationals back. So it's one of those where these early games of the season, it's about just playing some good stuff and building the foundations for the rest of the season. Because Edinburgh will be back up there when they when they manage to bed those players back in after what has been a long season for a lot of them. So it's going to take a bit of time.
Back into Wales now. Well, Welsh derby. Scarlets getting a big win over Cardiff, 31 points to 25. Well done, Scarlets. I mean, they had it rough at the start. They had to do their tour of South Africa straight up, and it sucks. It doesn't matter what time of the year it is when you have to do your tour of South Africa. Chances are you're not coming away with a good result.
Yeah, it's so, I can imagine that there's so much going into it when you go and tour South Africa for those couple of weeks that you go, the travel, the climate, the physicality of those games. They're so unique, and I think teams are still ultimately adapting to that. Even after all this time that the South African sides have been there, teams are still adapting to what it's like and how it's like to play against South African sides in South Africa. So it is always incredibly difficult to go there and bring back results. And if you do, it's a huge boost. So, I mean, they've been thumped for 2 rounds, haven't they? They've been thrown around the gaff. So it's probably some wounded bodies and some wounded egos, let's say. And to come back and win one of the Welsh derbies is credit to them, really, for bouncing back in that way. And I think as a Welsh father, so I've got a bit of Welsh allegiance in me as well. So, but the Welsh game is really struggling, and I'd fear for all of those 4 sides, to be honest, this season. I don't think it's going to be particularly fun, but yeah, to get a win, and Cardiff are struggling too. So fair play to the Scarlets; they bounced back really well.
But then, speaking of Welsh teams getting hurt, Munster versus the Dragons, 45-14 to the defending champions. I mean, the less said, the better. Like,
they scored 14 points. Well done, Dragons. They scored 14. That's probably 14 more points than most of us expected them to score. Look, I'd be willing to say right now that I'd be, knowing what's to come from Zebra, I would be really disappointed if Zebra didn't win home and away at Dragons this year. And I think I really struggle to see where Dragons win a single game. Genuinely, I really struggle, and it's going to be really tough for them this season. I think this is going to be a pretty chastening one, and I think they'll come bottom. That's my prediction, actually. I think Dragons will prop up the table, and I think they'll be I really struggle where they'll even win a game, to be honest. And that might come back to bite me, and Zebra end up losing by a point in both those games. But they'll probably be looking at Zebra and thinking they're the ones we need to really target, because I think they probably think that it's going to be that sort of season. So yeah, there's a long way to go, and that's against Munster without a lot of their first teamers as well. So yeah, all things being considered, it doesn't look too bad, actually, I'd say. But it's going to be a long season, man. It is.
No, we've not had a table prediction yet this season, and Marcello's came straight in, and Dragons finished bottom, no wins.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We did have a hell of a comeback though over in Galway. Connacht versus Ulster. Ulster were 20 points to 3 up at half time, just to lose 22-20. Well done to the boys in green. Shout out to our boys, not Matt Hansen, because he's back. He's not back yet, but we've had Mac. We love him. Byron Ralston, clinical. That and Castleford in the centre, special. He is a freak of nature, and I cannot wait to see more of him.
Yeah, I think Connacht's a little bit like Sale. The conditions can be so difficult
That's
over
fair.
there in Galway, and it's a really tough place to go, and they don't lose very often at home. And they're 3 from 3, aren't they? So
Top of the table.
very good start for them. Again, the Irish sides you always expect to be there or thereabouts. They're that good. But yeah, I think Ulster. I've only watched one game with them, and that was a Zebra game, and Zebra should have won. And so I would be. They concern me a little bit, but I guess again they're similar in the way that they've few players come back. Still early in the season, it's hard to really judge these teams. But they've not made the greatest of starts, and that'll be a difficult one to take, having been so far ahead in that game, and to lose will be difficult. But yeah, Connacht looked good, and I expect them to be up there again this season, and they'll be a force for sure.
I love the mentality because most teams, at least the last few seasons, if you're that far back at half time, the heads start going down. It's kind of like, what's the point? And Connacht's going, no, there's another 40. Let's do. It's almost like let's just do what we can and take it from there. No, just go for it. Go take the win. I love it. I've always had a soft spot for Connacht. If I had to pick an Irish team, it would be them. So
yeah, same. It'd be nice. With the URC, I'd like to see. Obviously, like to see my Italian sides up there, but I'd like to see new teams sort of doing really well. So like the likes of when it comes to the Irish sides, I'd like to see Connacht do well, and I'd like to see Zebra do well, just because Benetton have done quite well for the last couple of seasons. So it'd be nice to see. It'd be nice to see Connacht go well. So I'm fingers crossed they do.
There you go. And just because it's back to Italy, and you are our guest for the week, I'll let you round it off for round three. Sorry.
Yeah, pretty scrappy. I mean, Benetton have been they've not conceded a lot of points. They've been defensively very, very sound. They look difficult to break down. The attack is still a little bit, how should we say? It's not sort of free flowing as they probably want it to be. But like I've said a couple of times, we're still so early in the season. It's going to take a bit of time. And Benetton have only just had all of their, well, not all of their, they had a lot of their internationals back last weekend. So last weekend was their sort of first run out as pretty much there or thereabouts first team really last weekend. And I think I'm speaking to a few people that the Lions were always going to be a little bit stronger this season than they were potentially last season. So I looked at that game and thought that should be a pretty decent win for Benetton, and it proved to be a lot more difficult than it was really. And it was sort of ended up being very tight and a late win. But yeah, great to see some of those players like Fekitoa back in that squad and scoring as well. And Canone, 4 turnovers, I think, in that game. He was fantastic. And Lamaro back on the bench, so he's back in the fold. And Lucchesi and some of those forwards as well. So as a team, looking strong. Got the internationals back now, and they'll be wanting to kick on. But 3 games, 2 wins, 1 draw. Obviously, shouldn't have drawn with Munster last weekend. That was a really difficult one to take, to be honest, conceding literally stoppage time. And yet they sit 9th in the table, which is ridiculous, really. But again, lots. We're expecting big things from Benetton again this year, and that they will have ambitions of playoff rugby at the end of it. That'll be their real main goal. And the start they've made, and with the team they have, I mean, the quality and the names in that squad are, I mean, that's as strong a Benetton side as we've probably ever seen ever. So there's no reason why they can't really push this team. So we're expecting big things from them, and I'm really excited to see how they go in Europe as well as URC.
There we go. Just before we sign off, predictions, because we've got round 4 of the URC. I'm scared to ask you this one because it's Zebra versus the Sharks.
Well, I mean, seeing what the Sharks did at us at the Stoop last weekend, Zebra at home. Well, whilst I'm on this pod with you, you back your team, don't you? So, but generally speaking, I do actually think Zebra will win. So I'm going to go with Zebra.
If this result goes that way, you might have to come back next week because I don't know if Cam could handle a defeat
Hey,
to
look,
Zed.
look. If we're basing it on what happened last weekend, I mean, I don't know whether the Sharks will have some players back, but they looked really disorganised and really struggled against Ospreys. And going to Zebra, a team that are, yes, they haven't actually won a game yet, but full of confidence. And they did rest. They did actually potentially didn't play as strong a side last weekend. They made a few changes, rested some of their players. So I expect a lot of those to come back in for this one at home, and I think they'll be really targeting home games this season. So yeah, I'm going Zebra to win.
You know what? You've convinced me. I'm going for the Stripes as well. I'm back in Zebra.
That's the spirit. Good boy.
Cardiff host the Bulls. Kind of a dead rubber match, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm really worried for Welsh sides, actually. And the Bulls look pretty good at the weekend, especially going forward. But again, they almost leaked 30 points. I will say I'll go with the Bulls.
Yeah, okay. I don't know why. I think Cardiff could edge it. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but I think Cardiff will get the win. We've got an Irish derby. Ulster against Munster. Oh, there's going to be fireworks, guaranteed.
Yeah, Munster for me.
Yeah. I don't think it'll be close on the scoreline. I just think because it's an Irish derby.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, Ulster struggled the first few weeks, I think. And Munster, I know it was the Dragons. And I don't think Munster are where they want to be yet either, and still got players to come in. But yeah, I'd say Munster win that one.
Benetton host the Stormers.
Back your team, Larry.
How many teams you got?
Hey, the Italian franchise. I'm always going to hope they win. So, but look, Benetton will be a really difficult team to beat, and they've proven that the first few weeks. And the Stormers are still without a lot of their South African boys as well. So there's no reason why Benetton can't turn them over as well. So I'm going to go Benetton.
So I'm going to use pod logic. When I can't decide, I have to then stick to who. You know what? It has to be Benetton then because we've had 2-0. We've not had a Stormer on yet. So Seb, Reno, get a job done, boys. There you go. Ospreys against Glasgow.
Could probably be tighter than I might have expected.
Yeah, it is at Swansea. It's down at Swansea. So
you're playing in front of in a library then. It's hardly. I honestly can't imagine it's a daunting place to go at all. Zebra should have gone there and won. So I'll back Glasgow.
Yeah, I think Glasgow's doing a lot better. We'll back the West. Scarlet host the Lions.
I'll go the Scarlets.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Lions did cause a lot of issue for us a few weeks ago, last week. But I don't know. I just feel like that it'll be close, but I think Scarlets have enough in them to finish it.
Yeah, go along with that. And they should have some of their Welsh boys back as well, because some of them were missing last weekend due to the Wales Barbarians game. So yes, Scarlet.
The game I'm most excited for, purely because I'll be there loud and proud, Edinburgh versus Connacht.
Ooh.
It's a tasty fix. It's always a tasty fix. There's the best fixtures.
Just because it's Edinburgh.
No, just because I genuinely because I love watching Edinburgh. I've got mates that play for Connacht. I've got mates that support Connacht, so they come across. Yeah, it's fun. Big piss up.
Yeah, there we go. And actually, that stadium they've now got looks like a really, really slick place. I'd love to visit there. Actually, it looked like a nice place to visit. That's tight. That's a difficult one to call. Actually, I'm gonna go with Connacht.
Oh,
Sorry,
you suck.
sorry. They're 3 from 3. They're
I know,
obviously
I
flying.
know.
Confidence is quite high. And I think
Um,
they'll do well this season. So I'm gonna back the boys in green.
I'm convinced that Bundyaki and Matt Hansen return this week.
And again, if they do, then that makes that game a lot more difficult. So I would, Connacht for me.
Yeah, no, bugger that. I'll back Connacht any other week. Not this week.
This week. Not this week.
Back your team, back your boyhood team. Edinburgh for the win. Edinburgh at home. I know we've only had the Lions at home this year, but it feels different. It's not a big stadium, so when we could fill it, it's very loud.
Yeah, much better that way. Much better than playing in a sparse stadium, a much bigger stadium when there's a couple of people in it. And like that's the same with you were playing at Murrayfield for a long time, weren't you?
For ages.
And it had that feel for me of playing in like a big empty bowl that a lot of the time you see that with the South African sides and Ospreys as another one. They play in like a 25,000 seater stadium and they have about 5,000 people in it. So it just feels empty. So having a smaller one, more compact, better atmosphere, makes it a more difficult place to go.
Our capacity isn't even 8,000 for the Hive.
Yeah. That's good. It's better to have like 8,000 people in there. So
absolutely
much better.
But it's going to be great, I think. I mean, Mata should be back. I know he had a shoulder niggle last week. That's why he wasn't playing. Buffelli should be back anytime now.
I thought he was out for a while.
I better not be.
Am I missing something? I thought I saw Buffelli was out because he put that post, didn't he? I follow. Is it the Burr Watch? Is he called on Twitter? Don't know if you know him, but he quote tweeted something Buffelli saying,
"Damn it! No, yeah, he's out injured.
I'll be back stronger." I'm pretty sure I saw him say.
Edinburgh lose Buffelli to injury until late December.
Yeah. Sorry to break that to you live on air, but yeah,
it's all good. It's all good. Still back my team. Edinburgh for the win. Still got Kinghorn. It's fine. Still got Duhan van der Merwe, Ben Healy, Hamish Watson, Pierre Schumann. That could rattle off. We've got all our internationals back.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be. Look, that could be the game of the weekend. Really good. That looks like a good one.
And last one, I don't even know why we're asking it, but Dragons are hosting Leinster. Oh dear God.
Poor Dragons.
You know what? Poor Leinster. Dragons for the win. No, I'm joking. I can't.
Yeah. You unfortunately, there's only one prediction, isn't there? I mean, I fear for Dragons, and it must be so hard. Must be desperately difficult being a Dragons fan. It's actually where all my family are from, so I sort of feel their pain a little bit.
You're a Dragons fan. There you go.
Well, so technically, my Welsh side I think it's my godparents from Swansea, so they're Ospreys, and then I've got a lot of family Newport way. So,
Fine.
it's going to be hard work, isn't it? I'd be surprised if they can keep Leinster below 30 odd points. They'd be doing a great job. So. Pray for the Dragons. # pray for Dragons.
Well, that's all the rugby. We've absolutely crushed it. Where would we find your very Italian podcast?
So it's on all streaming sites. actually. Whatever you use, whether that be the podcast on the Apple or Spotify, or we're also on YouTube. You can find us Fratelli D'Rugby. If you follow I'm Il Tricolore Rugby Italian 96 on Twitter. So you can find me there, and you can obviously find all my Italian stuff. And I've got my own TikTok page as well. One for the account, Fratelli D'Rugby, and one for my own personal account, which I think is Call Me Marcello. I think that's my name on TikTok. I think it is. If it's not, then sorry, but I'm sure you'll find me somehow.
Fair.
You can find me everywhere. I'm everywhere. I'm here, there, and everywhere.
Well, likewise, we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, Instagram, TikTok. We have got a LinkedIn page, but it's more just my LinkedIn page, so it works. But it works. We try and share clips on TikTok. Obviously, just watch the full thing on YouTube because we can't be doing shorts. We can't be bothered with it. Just watch the whole thing. It's really good content. We try our best. We promise. But yeah,
it's hard work out here creating podcasts. It's hard work.
It is. It's not easy. If people
lengthy ones, shorts, clips, it's hard work. It's not easy.
Is. Make a nice fancy intro every week.
I know, yeah. I feel your pain. So you guys are doing great stuff. So fair play to you.
I love how I say niche. It's not niche because there's a lot of Italian rugby supporters. But I love that that's your main focus. I think that's great.
That's what we thought. We thought there wasn't really the link between Italy and the rest of the world almost. So with our English-speaking Italian rugby podcast, that's what we're hoping to do and sort of bridge that gap a little bit. So that's the end.
Well, all I could say is grazie. There you go.
Prego, grazie, ciao.
Thanks to everyone. Hit the subscribe button, get the notification bell rung, share it, get the word out. And we will see you next week. Cam might be back. We might have to call in reinforcements again, depending on the result, but we'll see how it goes.
When Zebra beat Sharks.
When Zebra beat... I don't think we'll ever live that down. I think that might be Cam's retirement speech.
Yeah, I'll be making sure I tag him on TikTok if that happens.
Oh, God. But, yeah, this has been Rugby Connection Podcast, and we will see you next time.